there is new significant evidence showing that Scott Peterson did not murder his wife Laci and their unborn son Connor. So says the LA Innocence Project, and they are asking for a new trial.
Right, and they have presented this evidence now to the Court of Appeals here in California, and they say that due to scientific testing that was not available at the time of the murders, 22 years ago.
The murders 2000, December, the prosecution says December 24th, 2002.
Right. Well, they said these new testing that is available shows that Scott Peterson, and up to this point, police have believed that Scott Peterson committed these murders on December 24th.
Now, there is new
evidence that shows...
This is according to the LA Innocence Project. What they are saying is that there is a new fetal test that they do that can establish when the fetus is no longer alive. And they say, based on testing that was not available at the time of the trial, the date of death was somewhere between December 28th, 2002 and January 5th, 2003.
And that would not, if that's the case.
If that's the case, what they're saying is it couldn't have been Scott who did it.
Because the police were up his you-know-what at that point on December 28th. They were already following his every move.
For days.
For days. They were all over him with helicopters, following him on the ground.
So we got into this. By the way, this is not the only thing that they brought up, but it is a big thing they brought up. And we got into this on our Two Angry Men podcast with Mark Garagos and myself. Nancy Grace, who followed
this. Nice of her to stop by.
She followed this trial soup to nuts. When she heard about this, she went off. They're saying that you can actually look at the development of the fetus, and they put the actual date of death sometime between December 28th and January 5th of 2003. If that were the case, he would not have done it because the prosecution's case is he did it on the 24th of December. So they're saying there is this new testing. This was the most fascinating part of what they wrote as far as I'm concerned, that if that's true and if this test is legit, that does raise a question, right?
Well, and by the way, combined...
I don't know, but have either one of you ever given birth? Just curious. I'm guessing the answer is no.
No.
Because I've sat through many a sonogram where they tried to determine the correct age of the baby, when the baby was going to be born. And now the Innocence Project, with their medical degree, is telling me that the doctors at the time, Laci's doctor, her OBGYN, was wrong, and they're right 20 years later. Okay, good. You tell that to a jury. Let's see what happens.
We should stress, again, it's the LA Innocence Project that has presented this evidence. But, yeah, very clearly, Nancy is not buying it. I know she was referring to a sonogram there, which is not the technology or the testing that the LA Innocence Project is referring to.
There is one, I think, you know, and this came out in our morning meeting this morning. There's one flaw in this, which is sometimes a fetus can actually keep living after the mother dies. And if that's the case, it could have been Laci was murdered on the 24th, theoretically, and that the baby didn't die until the 28th. I mean, that's a possibility.
I would guess the state would say that. Some of the other things that the LA Innocence Project presented has to do with DNA testing that was not done. And again, the overarching theme they have is that the police did not pursue other avenues.
There were 3 burglaries in around her block in the 24 hours around the time she went missing. There were 2 people who were caught, and there was also a van that people in the neighborhood saw. And these 2 people who were caught, who confessed, said that Laci...
confessed to the robberies.
Confessed to the robberies, said that Laci Peterson had confronted them. If that's true, that would have been after Scott went fishing. The other thing is that van was burnt up, and there was a mattress inside with blood on it. Now, the blood was crudely tested with DNA testing, and at least according to Nancy, it returned that it was a male, which wouldn't have been consistent with Laci's blood.
Right.
But what the Innocence Project is saying, LA Innocence Project, is that there would have been more sophisticated DNA testing they could have done to establish if it was her. So I don't know how this is going to go.